Okay, all right, we're gonna start in a second. My webcam's off. There we go. All right. Let me turn off the music. All right, the music's off now. Cool. Let's see if we get some more people to join us, and we will start in about 2 minutes. Okay. Alrighty. This is something that we'll end up doing today. It's a little particles, little streams generated from particles. All right. Okay, my camera's on, my microphone's on. People are waiting. Let's start. So today I want to talk about particles, and it's gonna be a little bit faster paced than the other days. I know it says basics on the title, but we're gonna go fast. And yes, all these webinars are recorded, and you can see them after. All right, so let's start with the basics. But I'm gonna show you what we're gonna end up doing here today. We're gonna do 2 projects at the end. Let me turn off my phone. Don't need phone stuff right now. All right. Okay, so one of the projects is gonna be this one. It's just a lot of streams generated from particles. See, gonna be. This looks pretty cool. Lock the camera. Just a lot of kind of strings generated from a bunch of particles, which create a huge mess, but it looks cool. And the other thing we're gonna do is recreate one of the. It's here actually. Let me rename this to fireworks. Is it? No, it's not here. All right. No, it's another file. All right. Yeah, I remember now. Maybe leave my floor alone. This is the floor. So the other file is this. Let's open this real quick. So this is the other one. It's based on the Houdini example included. This is included in the Houdini examples, but we're gonna learn how to do it and add a little bit of detail on our own. So that's the second example we're gonna do today. So let's start with the basics first, and then we can go and learn more stuff. All right, so let me just bring this over here. OBS something over there, I think. Okay, particles. It's one of the strongest areas of Houdini. I think this is one of the first things why Houdini got so strong. Particles and rigid bodies had been amazing in Houdini since forever. So this is a few of the things why people started using Houdini. Amazing particles, amazing rigid bodies, and gonna start on particles then. So let me just stay this and save this scene just so we don't lose it. It's training. Particles basics. Okay. So first of all, how do we create particles? Well, there's a shelf for particles. You can see it's here. You got a lot of tools for particles here. There's a bunch of stuff here. It's not that hard to use any of the stuff. And this fireworks example is the example that we're gonna recreate later. So if you click this and just press enter, we'll create an instance of that in the center. Press play. You start seeing this example, which is pretty cool, right? We are gonna recreate that in a few moments. But first, let's start seeing how we can actually create those particles. So to create particles, we need a location. In from that location, or the basic, the most basic way to create them, we just need a location. And this is gonna start. So I'm sorry. I need to say that this is gonna take us into the dynamics context of Houdini. So don't get scared if you haven't used the dynamics. It's really simple. It's not that complex, but it is gonna change a little bit the things that we're gonna have to, the way that we kind of make sense of this. All right, so let's see. The easiest way is just to click this location emitter here. So let's just click that one and click it. Tell us what we wanna add it. Let's put it wherever. Let's say there. So when we do that, I was over here. When we do that, we create something there, and it creates these two things. And this is what I was saying. This is the dynamics context in Houdini. Once we go in here, things change. And this is the location particles that are being. This is the result actually. The result of this is just extracted to this node. So you can see this node is not displayed. The display is on this node. So if we go inside this node by double clicking, you can see we are now in dynamics. You can see even it says dynamics here. And dynamics it's one of the strongest parts of Houdini, and one of the parts that why so many people know Houdini or want to use Houdini, because of dynamics. They want to make explosions, they want to make stuff. So you are on the right path if you're watching this tutorial. And you can see we have a bunch of particles there. If we hit play, it's just falling. A bunch of particles are falling down, right? I don't think they're dying, it's just going down. So what's happening here? So what happened is that the tool here created a location node, which is just a location node just saying where in space. We can move this to somewhere else, and you can see I'm changing the values here. It's just a position in space, but you're gonna put this wherever you need your particles to be created, going outside of a plane or something. So this is the first node, is just doing that, saying where are we gonna emit the particles from. And then it has one of the most common parts of particle, which is all these attributes here. This is pretty common for all particles. It's the birth tab, the attributes tab, and these two tabs almost never use at all, actually, unless you're doing some funky things. But these two tabs are the more important tabs here. And this is how this is just saying how am I gonna emit those particles. And there's two ways to emit the particles. Impulse activation is just is on, is activated, but it is not emitting anything, so it's actually off. It's like if it's at 0, it's the same thing. So constant activation, it's saying this is on because this is 1, and this is saying that this is gonna emit this amount of particles every second, which is 5,000 particles every second. So if we go to frame 24, this should be exactly 500 particles there, and there it is. Well, it's 5,006, which I guess is kind of a little bit of error, but that's what it's doing here. If we go to 48, that should be double that amount. You can see it's 10,000 there. So this is exactly what you're doing. If you want a lot of particles in a defined way per second, you can use this. If I turn this off just by putting this to 0, you can see now we don't have particles. Particles are gone. We're not emitting. So these two parameters or these 4 parameters control how much control if I'm emitting particles and how many. So if now I turn on impulse activation by putting this to on. I don't know why these aren't toggles. It should be toggles just to turn them on and off, because I think just 0 and 1 is just what it does. Doesn't need to be a float. All right, so now I turn impulse activation on, and now I can say, let's say 1 particle. So now if I go forward, you can see I have 1 particle there. Let me make those particles bigger. And point size, there we go. So there you go, you can see it's emitting 1 particle. So it's 1, the first frame, then it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's basically every frame it's gonna emit this amount of particles. If you are doing subframes, it's gonna emit the same for every subframe, I think. So let's say I want 10 particles every frame. If I go to frame 10, I might have 100 then, and that's 91 because at 11 because we started at 1. So it's 100 particles, 101, which is all right. So that's how you emit particles. It's different. Both modes serve a purpose. So it just means try the two for your project and see what it does for your project. It might work for you. One setting might work for your project, and the other might not work. Whatever. So these 2 ways of emitting particles. If you want a more constant stream per frame, just do this one. All right. So the other things here are probabilistic emission. I don't even know what that is. So whatever, I'm gonna go to the most important part here. The other important part here is the life expectancy, and this is how much the particles are gonna live. And just to tell you, this is in seconds. Why? I don't know, but this is always been on seconds. So if you want it to live for 1 second, put it to 24. Let's see, if we go to frame 24, particles should start dying down here. No, that's 24 seconds actually. What I do if I want to set something as exactly by seconds, I just divide $FPS by something like 1. Let's say 24. I'm sorry, 24. So there we go. So at 1 second, they start dying here. The first ones, they started here, start dying, and then don't go forward. That's something I do if I want just to die at frame 24. If I want them to die at frame 48, I just do that. Actually, that's wrong. That should be 12. And but most of the time I just keep it for seconds. So 1 second. So 1 second is just gonna be at 24. 2 seconds gonna be at 48 because we have the frame rate at 24 frames per second. So let's do 1 second, and let's move these guys up a little bit. So at 1 second they're gonna start dying, but just dying like that, it will be just, it looks really unnatural. So to make it a little bit better, there's some variance that we can add to that. So the life variance here will say we'll vary this value up and down. So let's say if I put 0.5, the life expectancy would be from 0.5 to 1.5. So it's varying up and down this value. So now we have something more natural. Not all particles die at the same times, and it looks pretty. It looks a little bit better. So now the particles are too big. Let me just make them smaller. So that looks a bit better. And now, why are the particles falling? Well, by default, they put this gravity node here. If I disable that node, you can see the particles are not falling. But now, why are they moving? Why are the particles moving at all? Well, that is something that it's being driven by the location. You can see in the location, if we go to the attributes, there's some variance here. If we put the variance to 0, it's just gonna, the particles are actually there in the center. You can see if I turn on the numbers, there's a bunch of particles there. So you can see the numbers growing. So the particles are just are born there, but they're moving. So the variance adds a little bit of variance to the velocity. If I wanted to go, I want the particles to go straight up, I can just put one here in the y direction and they're going up. So now my particles are moving up, but they're dying here. So let's say I wanted more faster particles going up, I'll just put 5 here and they are going up. There you go. But since this is boring, there's what the variance is there. You can just make it like a stream, just giving it like a little bit of radius of for the particles to evolve around. And that's what the variance is for, just be giving a little bit of variance to these values here. So if you want to make like a steam, something that looks like steam, maybe this for you. Maybe if you want to make like a water of a hose, you can make it maybe go in one direction, like in this case, make it go in X, but it's too slow. Let me put it to 5. It's going like that. It's going to one side, and now if we enable gravity on top of that, it's gonna go there and fall. So that's pretty cool. Now I skipped over this pop object and this pop solver, but let's look at them. The pop object you will probably never need to get into, maybe just for collisions, but just to tweak the tolerance and the bounds, maybe the friction, but it's rare that you get here. Just a little bit of there's just a few parameters here. This just creates the object for simulation. And in the pop solver, you might get a little bit into this when you are simulating really fast particles. If you're simulating really fast particles, you're gonna have to give it more sub steps so they collide correctly with stuff. And I almost never change anything here because I don't need it to. Auto sleep might be useful when you are making particles stop and stuff like that. So, but the only thing I mostly of the time use from here is the sub steps. All this I never touch. The collisions I just do separately in a collision pop and a collision dop actually. So this is not that complex here, and if you want to get more involved, well, you can plug other velocities here and stuff. But so what if we want to do like something like that, right? Like it's just maybe it's water or something. But how do we make it? Let's say we have a ground there, right? And we want our particles to collide on that. This is something that people kind kind of confuses people a little bit. But let's say that we are here and we say, all right, so all the operations that we're going to do for particles, we're just going to do here in this area here. And if you go or press tab or middle right click here, you can see there's a bunch of objects that we could create here. I mean, nodes and stuff, but everything that it's related to particles is on the pops menu. So just go here. This is basically everything that applies to particles. Some forces like the gravity is not exclusive to particles, but it does work. Some other forces like some other of these forces here work on particles as well, but I most of the time I just stick to the particle forces and nodes here. So let's say that we want to crash on that. We want the particles to collide on that plane there, right? So we're gonna go and say, okay, so that will be a collision. Oh, here it is, collision, behavior detection, ignore. Let's try the first one. And it says that how do I select that plane? Is it doing it already? It's not. So what do I do here now? No, can't find anything. All right, let's try the next one. And let's say collision detect. Oh, that sounds like the right one. And oh, all right, now I can select an object here. Okay, go and select the floor. Yes. And now I press enter and oh, something happened. I can see the floor. I can see the particles turn red, but I want them to collide and bounce. What happened there? Okay, deforming geometry. No, maybe it's a behavior attributes. Oh, there's a note here. Bouncing is handled using static or RBD objects. What? So if you knew about Houdini before, the particles in Houdini were not in the dynamics context. They had their own context before, and all these things like collisions happen in that context. But now, since particles are part of the dynamics context of Houdini, now we use dynamic objects. So instead of doing that, we can just go to the object here, select the floor, rigid bodies, and create a static object of that. Just by clicking that, I didn't click it. This static object, there we go. If we go here, now we have this branch here, and this little branch here, which just created a floor, which is a static object. It's gonna merge with, we don't actually need unless we have more objects, and a static solver that has exactly 2 parameters or 5. But yeah, don't touch this. Just leave it like that for now, unless you know what you're doing. And for now, we don't need to do nothing here. But the floor, now I can see the floor here, and let's just hit play. And oh, nothing's happening. What's wrong? Well, the floor might not be. The floor needs to have a collision object, right? That's how things work in DOPS. So let's go to the floor object, which is a static object, and we are displaying the geometry here. But if we go to the collision tab, bullet data, show collision geometry, let me hide this. So there we go. We have some collision geometry there, but it might be too small. Just might be too small for the particles to detect it. So let's try something else. Let's change this to a box. It's still too small because it just maybe a plane. Oh, now that's different. So a plane, it's really small for collision detection. And now I don't know why this is not colliding. Collide relationship. No, that's weird. Why is that not colliding now? Might still be Too small. No, that's weird. Should be colliding now. It is not. All right, so let's try use the floor. When I have a floor like this and I want to collide with it, I generally don't use uh, this method because it fails. Most of the time, so I just get failures. So rigid bodies has a ground plane. If you can see here, if I click this icon here, I create a ground plane, and this is a infinite ground plane on that plane of the scene. So you can see the floor is on the same height. Now you can see the particles are actually colliding, but they're not colliding with the floor. We're actually colliding with the ground plane, which we can actually hide and there's no problem. But you can see now they are bouncing off the floor just as we wanted. Yeah, Drew, the collisions were really small, so the thickness was really small and there was not enough substeps. But that's why I wanted to illustrate that point, because a ground plane it's just physically better to calculate and even faster, because we're not even calculating any collision geometry and stuff like that. And for something like a floor, it doesn't make sense to calculate geometry for collisions. So a ground plane just makes more sense. You can see it just creates something similar. This is what we had before, and it created this, a ground plane object, a merge, which again we don't need, and the static solver, which it's exactly the same setup, but we had an object here, and we can make it collide with other objects by creating static objects. But for planes, I really recommend you use the ground plane. I think it's cheaper and it just works all the time. But let's create something else like a box, and let's put the box here crossing the stream, and let's make it bigger. And now we want the particles to collide with that. Let's do the same thing. Let's make it a static object. Right, let me just go to frame 1. Static object here. Let's go to our dynamic objects. You can see it's merging that here. If merging that there, so now we have an object there. We can check. Always check your. Let me just go to flat shader. Always check your geometry for collisions. Just hide this geometry and check the collisions here, so you know what's happening, and that's good. So if we run the simulation now, you can see that's colliding perfectly. If you have a cube, then just change this to box, which is exactly the same thing. Now we're colliding with two things, the floor here and the object there. Now, Thomas is saying that what if our plane is not flat? And that's a great question. So let's go to the floor and let's make it not flat. So I'm gonna make it bigger, and I'm gonna make a mountain here. Mountains up. So that's not flat, and that's cool for now. So there's two things you can do here, or two ways you can go about it. Well, just a few ways, but one is using the terrain object, which will do exactly something like this. If we want to use this for collisions, the thing you can do is just extrude it, poly extrude it, and give it more volume, something like this. But you can see this gets a little bit messy because it's not regular and stuff, right? It looks good here, but all the way down here is weird. So you could probably make this work, maybe, but just not doing that as normals. Just doing it as the local control. No, there should be a normal way here. But as you can see, this is not simple. So the simpler way is to just go out of there and create a terrain object with that floor. So select the floor, click the terrain object. It's gonna create a terrain, but the floor is too low. I think maybe we're not displaying it here. Terrain object. Yeah, the terrain object, it's this. Oh yeah, there we go. Let me hide the ground plane. Ground plane. You can see that created an extrusion, which just gives it volume, which is pretty cool. And also makes it dynamic at the same time. So you can see, I can display here the extrusion. And there should be a way to move it somewhere. I don't remember what it is. Offset surface. No, it's collisions. Might be inside here, but this is more than enough. I did something weird. Yeah, there we go. So this is just the floor is being extruded down to give it exactly that depth, and now you can see it's colliding with that. Let me move the box, or just move the box. You can move the box out here, doesn't matter. Everything will update, and now it's colliding with that object. So even if we raise this to make it higher, now it's colliding with that. It's moving along the surface. They will move along the surface, collide with that. So that's how you would do something if it's not flat, but it is just one surface like this, like a plane. If it's something contained, like a sphere or something close, it will create the actual geometry for that, like in the box example. So that's basically particles and collisions. So let's see. All right. And now let's go inside the particles again. And now if we want to, the other thing we want to do here, and we will want to do, it's add noise to this. So let's make the particles go up now. Let's make them go up to 5. Now the particles are going up, but they have gravity, so they go up and then go down, which is, can create a fountain with this fountain. So let's make them a little bit higher, something like that. And now what if we don't want this stream to be so uniform? Well, we can go here to pops and create a force, pop force. And the force, you can see it has a force parameter which can do the same thing as the velocity. If we just push it up, push it down, let's say we want to move it to X, and you can see now I'm doing that, pushing them a little bit on X, maybe 3, and I'm starting to shape my effect now. See, it's looking like the R in renderman. Now, but the force has this very interesting section, which is the noise section. And the noise, if you raise the amplitude a little bit, it's gonna start giving a little bit of noise. Let me put it a little bit higher. See, now this is just breaking a little bit, starting to break, and that's because of that noise. You can see it's actually starting to move back and forth like a real stream of water will do. So if you put this really high, you're gonna just break it too much. But you can see it's moving to the sides, and the swirl sides is basically the shape of the noise, how big the noise is. If we make it bigger, you see now this looks like the noise is bigger. So this back and forward is kind of the noise size. If you made it really, really small, you wouldn't even kind of see it. It will be just really noisy. But if you make it higher, you can see that's maybe gasoline hose that it's spraying gasoline, and we are gonna die. So the swirl scale, it's the same thing as this, or this this will multiply these values. So if you don't want any scale on 0 on y, sorry, we'll just not do it in this direction. But in this case, we're seeing x, I guess. So we're not gonna be moving as much on x. So it's just, this is swirl scales just if you want to control it by axis or globally. This is a multiplier of these guys, basically, as I understand it. Stop, go up to 1. Yeah. All right, so the pulse length here is how fast is this noise moving around. You can see the noise is moving, going side to side. If we make this smaller, it's just gonna move faster. You can see now the stream is moving faster. Faster and faster. That's the noise, the movement of the noise. So the noise, it's kind of animated. If you want it to be very slow, you can put this to 5, and you can see the noise is moving slower now. So this is, think about it. Think about this as the noise speed. And the roughness, which is how rough the noise is. You can see now it's pretty smooth. It's not moving as much. You want to make it really rough. That's what you get. It's pretty cool. And attenuation, it's so the attenuation, I always get confused by this parameter. Attenuation at 0 just does basically nothing. It's like turning this off. If you turn it on a little bit, just gonna start like adding noise to it, but I don't know. I don't really understand how this thing works. Attenuation, it's kind of a mystery to me. I never seem to get what it's actually doing. Let's see the documentation, see what it says. I think it's just as the particles get far away from the noise, it gets affects less of it, but I never seem to get where the actual noise is coming from. So attenuation I almost never use. The turbulence is how detailed the noise is. You can see right now it's just one layer. 0 would be no noise. 2 layers of noise, 3 layers, 6 layers, more complexity on the noise. Looks cool. And offset is basically just moving the noise. If we want to move the noise in Y, see, maybe does it update here? No, it doesn't. Maybe at frame 2 it doesn't show. But if you want to move the noise in any direction, you can move it here. If you don't like a shape you're getting, you can just move it, move the noise, offset it, or animate the noise if you want, and just move the noise somewhere else. Use another area of the generated noise. All right, let's see what other nodes do we use commonly. The kill the kill pop, it's pretty useful. If your shot it's like this, and you're emitting a lot of particles, and they're going like down, like over here, like here, they're going off camera. If you want to kill them, like let's say with a bounding, go to the bounding box, enable that, and you can see there will be a box, and any particle that enters here will die. So you can move it here, and let's see, now rewind and play. You can see any particles that would enter there was just dying. So this is good for optimizing your scene when you have a lot of particles and you don't want to calculate what's outside of your frame or something. you can do this and just kill the particles and don't have them simulated anymore. And that's basically it. You have a few other objects, a few other ways to kill particles. Sincerely, I don't use this this random. I think I never used that. I use the bounding box a lot or the sphere to kill particles, but random never use that. And the rule, I use the rule. No, I don't think I've used a rule for killing particles. Because most of the time you don't want to kill them, you just want them to be alive. But if you want like particles that are going away or going through a wall and they're not they're escaping, but you don't mind a few ones escaping, you can just kill them behind the wall. All right, let's see what else it's important here. The collision, we saw that. There's a few important ones. I think drag is one of the more important ones here. Let's see. The drag, it's gonna give your particles air resistance, and you should always add drag to your simulation. You can see now the particles are not going up as much as they did before. And that's because they are having some air resistance here. And the pop drag also can serve as a wind force here. If you want some wind force in C, that will be too much for now. You can see now we're moving it in C, in the C direction as well as the noise that's moving the particles. And this shape here that you see here is because of the sub steps. So it's moving too fast to calculate. So basically it's like this is frame 1, this is frame 2, frame 3, frame 4, but it's not doing that smoothly because it's too fast, but the particles have to be there. So if you want to fix this is a common thing in particles. So you go to the pop solver and raise the main sub step. So let's try 3. Now you can see that it's gone away. So what it means here, if let's put it to 2, and let's now go here. You can see that it's kind of fixed, but you can still see that step in here. If we put this back to 1, so this is what we have. And by putting a substance of 2 here, you're actually calculating your particles twice between frames. So I mean twice per frame. So at frame 1 calculates once, and then at frame 1.5 calculates again, and then it goes to frame number 2. So if I put 4 here, it's gonna calculate 4 times. So now it's gonna be way smoother. So at frame 1 calculates 1.5, I mean 125, 1.5, 1.75, and 2. So it's gonna have 4 steps per frame. So that's how you get rid of that. And you have, if you have fast particles or particles that are going through objects because they are too fast, then you can just do that. And you can see we're calculating particles 4 times for every frame, and they're still, it's still really fast. It's pretty damn cool. Another note that I really like, and it's pretty important, I think it's the interact, and I'm gonna let the other the rest of the notes for you guys to explore. But the pop interact, I like it a lot. So the pop interaction, you can see it's spreading the particles a little bit more. Now the particles are getting spread out, and that's because of the pop interact. And this, it's a little bit slow, but it's pretty cool. So it's separating the particles by this radius. It's kind of giving the particles a radius and just trying to say, stay away from me this distance. So that's pretty cool. What I actually use this the most is actually negative direction, so I kind of attract the particles to each other, something like this. Now you can see I kind of have like clumps of particles, and it looks pretty cool when you have a bunch of particles. The particles kind of get into streams. If I don't make this too exaggerated, see, particles get a little bit closer, start to look like maybe liquids and stuff like that. It looks pretty cool when you have a bunch of particles that you are emitting for maybe a bigger emitter here. So let's go to see a few other emitters before we move on. And let's create a sphere just to see how you emit from an object. So the sphere is here. Let's put it up here. So you can just, again, same as we did before, we emitted from one location. Go to the particles object. You can just say source particles. So you can just click that with your object selected, source particles. You can see it creates points on the surface. It's emitting from there. So if we go to the object here, now we have two emitters here. This is just merging here. We could just replace this and disconnect this. And now we are emitting from that object. And this is what I mean with the interact. You get particles that are starting to clump together really well. Even if we go velocity force -2. When you have a bunch of particles, the particles start to clump really nice into streams and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of experimenting, but I like the interact sub for that. It's pretty cool. Maybe we can put this to 1. This is gonna go. Yeah, you can see it's starting to, those kind of movements on the noise, it's kind of respecting that. It's starting to move into those things. And this shape here, you wouldn't get that without the pop interact. It's pretty cool. All right. You can see that we're getting like this stream here separating, and that's because the particles are interacting, kind of getting clumped or forming shapes, really nice shapes and stuff like that. So that looks pretty cool. That could be like a really nice effect. So now that if we just want to emit more particles, just go here, emit like, I don't know, 50,000 every frame. So now we are emitting 50,000 every frame, and you can see Houdini handles that really well. And I have like not much particles, but it's pretty well. I think the slowest thing here is the interact. Without that, we just simulate really quickly. But you can see the shapes are really different now. But it just matters. It's just a matter of what you need and what you want for your object. This looks pretty cool as well. Changing this to pixels gives you sometimes really nice preview. Just by pressing D on the viewport and changing this in the geometry, changes the display particles to pixels. Sometimes gives you this really nice additive view, which looks pretty nice to visualize what's happening inside the particles. It's pretty cool. We have like 250,000, which is nothing. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's start to. So they're actually interacting with the floor here. Yeah, they're falling on the ground and moving around. Really cool stuff. They're falling on the ground. That could be dust of the sphere. Because the last thing I'm gonna show you here is just how to, if I say 72, I just want to stop emitting particles. The common thing is to just keyframe these with an expression, which is $F, $FF. It's less than your frame number. 70, actually greater than 72. No, less than, sorry. Is it? Yeah. So if this expression evaluates to 1, we're gonna be emitting. If not, it's gonna stop. It's gonna change to 0. You can just place a keyframe, like a common good old keyframe. You can see now it at frame 72 stopped emitting, and the particles just keep simulating their way. Really fancy and stuff. That can be the noise on the ground. Pretty cool. You can just make the ground plane have some friction. Don't bounce. It has a lot of friction. Should be stopping the particles. Maybe the air that's moving the particles around. That's it for now for that. So let's start doing one of the first project we have. So we're gonna start with a fresh scene. Let me just say, I'm not gonna save it. So we're gonna do these yes, Thomas, this will be recorded. You can see it after we're done. We'll be immediately there. We're gonna start doing the fireworks effect that I show you at the beginning. So for that, we're gonna start with a location at the center of the scene, and let's call these fireworks, and get inside here. We have this. So we want to emit particles from this, but I don't want all those particles. I just want one particle to be the guide of the effect, and then we're gonna go from there. So we're gonna emit constant bitrate, but I want to just make it 2.5, which gives me something like this. You can see it's giving me particles. Put this to real time, giving me particles, but it's just like 1 2 2 1 2. So that's what I want. And I want this particles to go up. So go to the attributes, the variance, I don't want it as high. Let's put it to 0.5, 0.1 on here. And the velocity on Y, let's put it to 1. And now, there we go. Let me kill this gravity for now. You can see now I have particles that are going up. Show you let me go back to the points display, make them big. So there we go. That's 1 2. It's emitting a few points every now and then, and it's emitting around this radius here. See, it's going here, 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 here. So it's random in the direction that they are going. Pretty cool. That's exactly what we need. And now we're gonna add our own gravity to this. So let's do pop force, and let's put minus 0.3. Now that's gonna make the particles go up, and then they're gonna start falling when they're up here. So that's how the this is gonna make the main streams of the effect. But I want these particles to die once they are kind of going down. And I know that it's gonna be 1.5 and 0.5 here. So after 1 second or 1.5 or 2 seconds, they're gonna start dying. You can see they're dying there. I think they're dying too fast. Yeah, it's 3 seconds here. So they're gonna go up and start going down. And when, there we go, it's down, it's dead. So when they're starting to go down, they die. So, but it's varying by this amount. So the other thing I need here is separate. I'm gonna make two streams here. So I'm gonna create a group. You can group particles. So let's use the pop group and let's connect that. And this is gonna be that group. And let's put it here, that group underscore that group. And we are going to collect the dead particles in this group. So once the particle is dead, we're going to put the particle in this group. And that's something pretty cool, that you can conserve the particles even if they are dead. So to do this, just very simple expression. We'll create a parameter here in group I, use an integer, at dead. So this is just means when this particle is dead, put it in this group. So you're just gathering the particles there. And we're gonna add a color here, but let's just leave that for later. So this is doing just nothing for now, but it's just giving us our dead particles for now. Let me just create a null, connect stuff here. So nothing's happening, it's just collecting the particles in this group for now. But now let's do the trails of the particles, because right now it's just one particle going up. So let's do a replicate. And the pop replicate, we're gonna connect strangely into the second input. So the first point input is point to replicate, but the second it's a stream, which is what we want for this. And we need to merge this to see the actual effect of this. So let's merge this. Now you can see we are replicating the points. It's kind of making each particle, it's being an emitter. So this is basically how I think of this is emit from particles. So this is how you do it. It's how you emit from particles. So let's do a trail here. Call this trail. So that's basically what it is. It's just emitting from particles. And you can see it's emitting a bunch of particles, and that is because of this shape. It's a sphere, and it's emitting this many every frame in this shape. This is this sphere shape. And what we want is to make the size of the sphere just 0. So we are kind of going from the particle. You can see it's starting to go outside of the particle. This is very similar to what we did in the location. You can see it has a bird, has a shape that it's the shape that it's gonna emit from. Noise, which I don't use, and has the attributes that are also similar to these attributes. There's a few more options. If we don't give it any velocity, you can see it's gonna just be set initial velocity to nothing. Just remove the variance there. And now we are making a trail of particles. So we're basically just emitting particles from that particle. So that's what we're doing right there. Let me hide the grid. You can see that's pretty damn cool. So if you want to emit particles from particles, this is the way you do it. And let's see, we want to emit, let's say we're going to use this. I'm going to emit 100 particles every second, every frame, I mean. So you want to launch a bunch of particles. And no, I'm going to put this to 10 first, because yeah, that's going to be a lot of particles. And what I want to do is just give them a little bit of variance. So let's give it like 0.1. You can see that's how it looks, which is pretty cool. I don't want any on Y, but I want to give the particles a little bit of like they are following, they're gathering a little bit, conserving a little bit of that impulse. So let's put this to 0.1. You can see they're going a little bit up, but not as much, and that's what I want. Now, how long are these particles gonna live? Because right now they are they're just staying there forever. So let's kill them after 1 second, and let's put 0.7 as the variance. And now they're dying, but not all at the same time. We have nice trails there. Again, let me reduce the point size because we are getting a lot of particles. So particles emitting from particles, leaving a very nice trail. All right, and we're gonna just add a color for those so you can see the difference. Pop color, and I'm gonna make this, let's say, yellow. You can see the trails are yellow. You can see the actual leading particle is there. It's white at the beginning. So we have two streams. Now I want to make those bursts when the particles die. Like when this particle is dead, like there, I want the burst to happen. So for that, we're gonna create another replicator. So let's create another replicator. And this is gonna be a little bit different because this is gonna actually take a group, and the group, we need to let me merge this first, because if we don't merge this replicators, you don't see the result. So now you're seeing that's something that you must understand, that when you do a replicator, nothing's gonna happen if you don't merge it back to the main flow. So you need to have this merge into the flow. You can see it's replicating again, but we only want this replicator to burst or to create particles when the particle is dead. For that, we can use the group option here, and let's call the let's get the dead group that we created here. So now you can see it's not emitting until there. You can see those particles are emitting at the very end, but they look awful right now. All right, so we want to make some of the same changes we did for the other replicator here, which is killing the particles. Let's say 1.5 and 0.5, so they don't leave as much. Let's make an impulse, because now we are just creating at one frame. We're creating those particles. So let's create 50, let's say 100 for now, because the dead particles only exist at that frame that they die. After that frame, they are dead. So they report the dead state in that frame, and then they die. So that's why we can use that state at that frame, emit at that frame this amount of particles, and then they are gone. All right, so it's perfect for what we need. Again, we need a sphere, yes, but we are going to put the size to 0, so the particles kind of emit from the center. But now let's see what's happening. We are emitting, but they are all together here, so we need to, again, give it a little bit of velocity, not so much. Variance in all directions, so they kind of expand from the center. And there we go. They're expanding from the center. Really cool. There we go. That looks beautiful. But it's gonna look even better if we add some color. So let's add color to the dead particles. So let's put a color here, and let's give it a random color for the particles. You can see that color is going to transfer to this guys here. There we go. You can see now we have random colors for the dead particles, and they transfer that color to the burst, which is pretty cool. So what else can we do here? At the very end of this, I'm going to add I want to add some drag to this two streams. So I'm going to merge. Extract that and merge it here. I'm gonna add some drag to this side. Not that drag, the pop drag. Let's say 2. They don't go flying away so fast. There we go. They have speed and then they slow down. But I also want some force. Pop force. What did I type? Pop force popo. Let's see, just a little bit, so the burst start to fall a little bit, because right now they have no force at all applying on them. Now if we pop, they start to fall a little bit. They have just a little bit of force going down. See, that's gonna be too much, but you can see the effect. You can see that's what's happening, but I want it to be really subtle. There we go. You can even add a little bit of amplitude on the noise and they will start to jiggle around, move a little bit funkier. If that's what you want, you can do that. And I think that's it for this effect. So let's make it a little bit more interesting. Right now, I want these streams to emit a lot more particles. Let's say 500. Yeah, and I don't want it to be as thick. So let's go to the attributes here. Put like half of this. And this is 0.05. That's what I type. Okay, now that looks pretty cool. And I think it's too much still. Let's put it down to 0.3. A little bit thick. There we go. Now let's add a little bit of force to those. Give it a little bit of variance. That is not what I want. Put force here. Put force, amplitude. Yeah, that's too much force. So let's put, let's make it 0.02 maybe. Yeah, that's a little bit of, let's make the size of the noise smaller, 0.2. We're getting a little bit of noise at the tail end. That's what I wanted. Maybe a little bit higher on the amplitude. And there we go. That looks cool. All right. The pulse length, I can make that fast, actually smaller, to make them a little bit, move a little bit faster. Yeah, I like that. And now burst, emit more particles there, like 500 maybe. It just depends on what you want. You could even, if you want like an exercise, you can even make trails of these birds. So if you can see how we make trails of this, you can make trails of the actual burst if you want, which some effects do. Hey Demetrius, stay up, man. We visual effects artists don't sleep early. We need to stay up at very late hours. So stay up, man. See the stream or see it recorded tomorrow, but it's cool if you can see it and you can ask questions. So there we go. We saw a bunch of stuff here for particles. This looks pretty cool. You can do a lot of things with what we saw here. Groups, trails, replicators. Pretty damn cool. So let me save this scene and we're gonna start a new one. New. And now we're gonna do really quick. Let's do some streams and let's do a sphere. I'm gonna start with a sphere. And let's call these streams. Let's go inside. And we're gonna add normals to this. You can see we don't have normals, that's pseudo normals. So let's use the new normal object to the points. Now we have normals. And we're gonna do something something really a bit different here. So some people don't like to use the shells because whatever. Let's create a pop network right here, and we're gonna plug this to the first input, and we're gonna go inside here. I'm gonna have that object as the emitter. Let's hide the normals. The particles are being created on the sphere, but I want them to go follow the normals. So let's do something scary here. Not really. Let's create an attribute wrangle. I'm just gonna say this normal parameter that I create here, this attribute, I'm gonna pass it to the velocity, which the simplest way is just to do it like this. So attribute velocity is equal to attribute normal. And that's pretty simple. So don't get scared about this Bex code here. It's pretty damn simple. The other way you could do it, if you don't want to use that, but Houdini kind of forces you to do it. You go to the points up, which is, I think it's the old way of doing this. The points up, you can go to the points up particle section, add velocity here, and you can plug the normals here. Like you could just type this. Let me just copy it. Let's see if it works. Paste copied values. It doesn't. Copied expression. There we go. We just need to put the normal x, the normal y, and the normal c on the velocity, which is doing exactly the same thing as this one line here, which is simpler for me. So I'm gonna use that. But if you want to use that, go ahead. So now if we go to the simulation, that's the particles are going away from the sphere. Looks pretty cool. So now we just to make this look really nice. Let's I don't want to do that. I want to scatter the amount of points that I want. So let's say 20 for now, and I want to add color to those. I want to add color to those points, just a random color. See, each point has some random color. Linux distribution, I use CentOS 7. And now they have color. And if we go inside here, see particles are not emitting for some reason. Oh yes. Let's go inside and let's say here in the option emission type, let's do it to points. Now it's emitting from those points, and you can see each particle that is coming from it. The particles that are coming from that point are inheriting the color, which is pretty cool. That's what we want. And let's go to the attributes and inherit the velocity. It's all right. We want to emit, let's say, less particles, like 100. All right. Now we want to add some noise to that. Let's do a pop force. Pop force. Let's give it some amplitude. You can see that's starting to look really cool. Let's add some drag, pop drag. They don't go always keeping the same amount of velocity. They're losing a little bit of velocity. Let's make them go down just for fun. There we go. And at the beginning, let me give them at the beginning a little bit of force up, like kind of like, let's say 1, but remove the variance. I don't want any variance. 0, 0, 0. They go up and then come down like this really nice shape. Let's put it up to 2, and then they are having this funky noise here. Let's make that faster. There we go. They're going away from the sphere a little bit more. And now that we have all this set up, let's go out, and here we have these points. They are just points at the end of the day. So we didn't, I want to set a parameter here. When I create these points, I want to create an attribute for them so I can actually reference that parameter later. I'm gonna call this parameter stream. Call this anything you want. It's gonna be an integer, and it's gonna take the number of the point. So $pt is just the number of the point is gonna be here. So stream, and see if we go to the geometry spreadsheet, this stream is just getting the number of the point passed to that, and that's gonna be important. Down here you can see now all those points that are being emitted. Let me create another node here. See, those points are actually getting the attribute stream is here, but you can see they are actually kind of making groups. This is kind of grouping the streams that we are emitting. And now I can use that in an add sub. Go to the polygons by group, by attribute, and I can use that stream attribute I created. And look at that. Now I'm creating lines. This is pretty funky, and doesn't matter how these particles go, because I'm just creating a line from each of those streams. So I can go and convert this after that. Convert to nerve curves. They look smoother now. Now you can see that we're creating pretty funky curves with particles. And this being Houdini, we can actually render these curves right away just by rendering. The curves have a width attribute that you can control. You can see they render directly in Houdini. And if we go up and create more points, like let's say something scary like 500, yep, that works. It's a little bit slow. Let's say 100. Creating streams for all those points. It's really cool. Let's give it to, yeah, 100. All right. Let's make frames. Add more frames to this simulation. Let's say 500. Apply. We're creating all those streams. Really cool. I think it converting those to, what's happening? Why is that looking like that? It's okay. So now we have a bunch of curves. We can even collide with something. Let's give it a floor, ground, plane. Move the streams up. Move the sphere up a little bit higher. Now that should actually collide with the floor. Really cool. It's something weird is happening here because the floor got created here. We should just delete it. Let's see if we can get it from here. Not selected. Selected. Damn it. So let me just say ground plane. Ground plane. Stop. I don't want to complicate this, so let's just, for now, delete all primitives. Delete non-selected. before. Just select this thing, delete it by hand. Okay, there you go. There we go. Oh, it looks pretty cool now. I have spheres and I have those Christmas lights. You can do Christmas lights with this or something like that. That looks pretty damn cool. And if you render this, you can create a camera, move the camera around, and render this. Those things will render actually. You can see that's what we did. Pretty cool. You can even add lights to this and it will render. Alright guys, I think this is it. We spent almost an hour and a half, which is pretty cool. So any questions? Last minute questions before we finish this? We covered a lot of ground. So let me call these streams. There you go. All right, any questions, guys? Any questions before we leave this amazing particles tutorial? Give me a second. Sorry, the family just got home. All right, any questions? Linux, yeah, I use CentOS. Late in Europe, yeah. You need to stay late if you want to be a visual effects artist. Yeah, I think someone for Germany said the same thing. Yeah, Soren, come on, man. You need to stay late. Stay up late. Thank you, Demetrius. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot for being here. Thank you, Sean. All right. So if there's no questions, I'm gonna end the webinar for now. Thank you guys for coming here. For being here. Hope you learned something. And don't worry, Maitland. You can see the recording after when I'm done. The recording it's available. So just hit refresh after I'm gone, and you can see it. Ahmed, with Bex tutorials, we will have Bex tutorials as well at mixtraining.com. So guys, please go to mixtraining.com, register there. There's a nice forum for questions there. Go to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. See other videos there. And I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being here. Last minute questions. What's my PC settings? I have a dual Xeon CPUs, 64 gigs of RAM, GTX 970 card, video card, and 2 monitors. I don't know. I guess that's the main things. All right, guys. Now it's gone time. Laters. Thanks a lot. Cheers.